عظيم هو السامي لدين عظيم هو السامي فخور بإسلامي فمنه ارتويت.
اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. By the code of protocol, I want to thank Amilesa for giving me the opportunity to present a research paper on governance and accountability. And I also want to profusely thank our speakers and our judges for being here and listening to us and speaking about the things that we think are things we can add to the community and solutions we can be able to bring. My name is Iqra Muhammad, the Vice Chairperson of Salihin Foundation. Salihin is a CBO, a county-based organization that deals with anything and everything that can be done to change the community in Kamkunji. I am also the Assistant Executive Director for Anchor Point Initiative, and I work for the admin department in NAMLEF, which is National Muslim Leaders Forum. Do any of us recognize this book? Anyone? Raise your hand. Yes? Yes? You raised your hand. Sumaya? Yes, this is the Constitution of Kenya that was made by the Kenya Law Reform Commission. I remember in 2024, I'm sure most of us, I hope most of us participated in the protest that we were doing for the finance. I remember working with this book just in case I get arrested because of Article 37. And if you were to open Article 37 by word verbatim, just a minute, sorry. It states that we have the right to peacefully protest and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. So when we speak of being a leader, I have been leader at an organizational level, I have been leader at a student level, and when we speak about holding people accountable, I personally am held accountable by the people that I'm leading. So when we speak about governance and accountability, let me just take this thing off. Yeah. How did the youth participate in this constitution that we are talking about? During the 2010 constitution, UON, University of Nairobi, I don't know if you're being represented here, they actively participated in the public forums and debates organized by the Committee of Experts, that's the COE, who are taking part in making sure that all the articles, all the chapters, which are the 18 chapters that are mentioned in this small book, are things that are going to benefit the citizens of this country. The activism and engagement of UN students, they only influenced the content of the 2010 Constitution, but they also underscored the importance of youth. I don't know if all of us here know how important we are into this country. Genuinely, we are the leaders of this country. We are the ones who are going to make change financially. We are the ones going to make changes economically. We are the ones going to make changes socially. So, however, we still find that minority counties, I hail from Garissa, we still try to grapple with the challenges when it comes to the government. I remember our MC saying we should say something good about the people that lead us, and when I was doing the research for this paper, the only thing I think I could say that was good was the MCA, Abbas for Nairobi. We know our Governor Sakaja, we know our Senator Sifuna, we know our Women Rep Paris, but the only good thing that I could come is how quickly they take charge when it comes to education, how they quickly, what is it called? The fees and all, how quickly they give it to the students. So when we speak about how good our leaders are, it is just a small percentage because the things that the citizens are saying is going to override the good that they are doing. So when we speak about governance, I want to talk about two acts in this constitution. I want to talk about the Devolved Government Act in Kenya, which states that the law should operate in a way that it outlined in the 2010 Constitution, the establishment of county government, functions and powers, public participation, accountability and transparency. I think Abbas, when he was here, he mentioned something about the youth taking part in this organization where we're invited. At this point, I feel like we're invited for these forums just to stamp an idea that the government is doing, because we will go there, we'll talk, we will raise our concerns, but at the end of the day, the things that are implemented are things that are really beneficial to the government alone and not to the citizens of Kenya. The purpose of this act was to promote democracy, to foster national unity, and also to enhance service delivery. Now let's talk about the main thing that we usually talk every single time you're talking about the government, the misuse of public resources. Does anyone here know how much a government earns, an MP earns in Nairobi? Just the member of parliament. Does anyone know how much they earn per month? Anyone? Yes? 1.5 million. That includes the mileage and also the allowances and everything they get. The lifestyle of our leaders are not incongruent with the realities of our citizens. And that's the poor truth. We have leaders showing off their cars, as we have seen last year. We have the MP, I think his name was Didmas, who was showing off his aeroplane. And when he was asked, he was like, that's from inheritance and also the ancestral land he has, when in reality he was a soldier before he became a leader. So how does a person who has been in the military start earning the moment he steps into the government? So the level of compensation is really, really low, is what I'm going to say. When we speak about human rights violation and lack of accountability, minority counties have witnessed numerous human rights violations, particularly during political unrest. For example, the 2017 post-election period, there was a lot of protest leading to the death of 6-month-old Samantha in Kisumu through tear gas. A 6-month-old. Like, where are we heading in a way? And then we talk about the abuse of intelligence service. The NIS has faced allegations of being used for political purposes. The former cabinet secretary was just last year saying his son has been abducted during the anti-government protest. If someone who has been in that position is talking about not trusting the government itself, how are we the citizens supposed to be doing that? So I wish Mr. Abubakar Said was here, the executive director, because he was one who invited me, because there was a session he held last year on civic education, and I really hoped each and everyone, especially the high school students we have here, could have listened to him, because it genuinely opened your eyes on how you can be the one who's going to make a change in the 2027 election coming up, because it is just about you educating yourself. I saw an article, I don't know if all of us watch the National Geographical World. There's a reporter called Richard, and he was speaking about how he was the one who has been a conservative and has mostly formed the Indian National Park, and how he did that was he was the one who was able to hunt a tiger that has been that has killed 436 humans. And how did he do that? By educating himself on how these animals work. So that's the same thing. If you want to make a change in this community, in this country, on the level that I am, we have to actually educate ourselves. And how we do that? Civic education. I think one of the presenters in the morning spoke about this, how if you were able to educate yourself about your voter rights, how you were able to educate yourself how the elections work, if you're able to educate yourself on the IEBC commission works and things like that, it will be so easy for you to follow up on the things that are happening. We cannot follow up on our governors, our senators, our MPs, if we don't actually know what are we going to follow up on. So many times they're telling us roads are going to be constructed. You follow up, what's the end goal? So I think one of the things that I will 100% stress on, and it is something that is actually actively being worked on through Salihin, is the aspect of civic education, educating our youngsters on how to be able to know their voter rights. So the fight against corruption has to be consistent. It has to be selective justice. It doesn't have to be shielding political allies because maybe you are the ones who are going to benefit from it, and delayed prosecutions send the hinge on leaders and things like that. We should embrace integrity. We should embrace respect, and we should first of all embrace transparency, because above all, we are all accountable to Allah. What we are doing on this earth is just going to stay here. So it depends on how you're going to be putting out yourself. And I want to talk about the articles that I have found that are really, really important to this conversation we were having. If you're interested, please pick this book, because I feel like when I went for the protest, if I was arrested, I think I would have this will have helped me a lot. Article 10 speaks about the national values and principles of governance. It aligns how transparency and accountability should be done by our own leaders. Article 73 speaks about the responsibilities of leadership. Article 75 speaks about the conduct of state officers, which prohibits them from using their office for personal gain, and I feel like unfortunately that is the reality for most of our leaders. And Article 201, which speaks about the principles of public finance, and this speaks about the openness and the accountability we're supposed to be having. Article 232 speaks about the values and principles of public service. This formed the legal backbone for demanding ethnic leadership, because if we were to hold our governance system accountable, we also have to learn about this. So in conclusion, I would love to finish with this. If our governance systems were working better, all of us will have been in a better position and we will not be having this forum. Because while me and my team were doing the research on this and also for the scorecard that Amilesa gave us, we were watching multiple videos, multiple interviews regarding the ones that the MPs have been doing, the ones the youth activists have been on, and it genuinely opens up your mind to the things that we think they are not affecting us. The same way we think politics in this country are not affecting us because we are university students, because all I have to do is just get this degree and move on. But if petrodollar system that was done in 1973 between the Saudi and the USA is still affecting us as an African nation, how do you expect you to think like this leadership, the way it's leading, is not going to affect you? So let us all take the initiative. Let us all educate ourselves on how we can be able to become better leaders and hold ourselves accountable. Because before we hold anyone else accountable individually, you also have to look at what are you doing for your community. We are all ambassadors of Islam. We were all sent here we are social beings. We were all brought up here for us to make changes in the communities we can. So if you're possible, if you're a high school captain or whatever it is you're doing at the capacity you have, let us all continue to do so, because our leaders are going to leave those positions. Who are the ones going to fill them? It's going to be us. And if you do not have the education, you do not have the expertise, you don't have the experience, it's going to actually just leave you behind. So let us take advantage of Amilesa. I think he mentioned about the goals that they usually have, all the partnerships they have, how they can help us become better leaders through mentorship, through connecting us with notable speakers, and how we can be able to become better leaders, inshallah. For all that we are doing on this earth, may Allah grant us khair from it, and for all that we are going to do, may Allah make it easier for us. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity. Shukran.
فخور بإسلامي